The Salience network is involved with filtering stimuli. So default mode network, narrow focused attention, central executive network, increased levels of attention, Salience network. How do you apply this attention, right? What are you actually doing with it? You could have all the attention in the world, but if you're not using it in a useful way, it's as good as useless, right? Now, the Salience network is really important because it dictates the way you engage in meditative practices. Sitting down and trying to meditate, if you have never done this before, or if you are not well trained, it's going to be difficult. Your mind is going to go in a million different directions. It is not going to do what you want it to do, and it's going to be a very frustrating experience. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen to you, but more likely than not, this will be the case because you have to physically retrain your brain, change connectivity. Your brain is only doing what you train it to do over time. The Salience network, when you experientially go through the content of what it's like to change the level of functioning there, it's going to feel like a change in control regarding what you attend to and do not attend to. So if you are trying to maintain your mind on a single object of meditation, what are the causes of psychological suffering, for example, and your mind instead goes to what it is you had for dinner yesterday, that's a sign that more training is needed there because your mind is staying within default mode network activity when you are trying to switch over to central executive network activity. Now, it's not a bad thing if this happens. It's actually a good thing because you are realizing what is going on, whereas before that would just happen by default. When you realize what is going on, that is when you train yourself, right? We know from literature that attention is very, very closely controlled by behavioral strategies, meaning what you do and how you behave dictates your attention. So if you gently, this is what you see in mindfulness training a lot of the time, if you gently redirect your mind towards what it is you are doing, just think of this as a cognitive way to physically retrain your brain. There are many examples of how we think shaping how our brain operates and how our brain structures itself. Our brain is always in a state of change. It's always restructuring itself. So you better believe that has an impact on behavior and how your brain wires itself. Anyways, the Salience network, once you train this more and more, you will find that you can more effectively filter in and filter out information. Experientially, this is like going into a state of meditation and your mind just flows and it just does what you want it to. We're done thinking about events that happened earlier in the day. We're done with mind wandering and daydreaming. We're going to sit here and we're going to focus on the task at hand. That's a good sign that your brain has been trained to a good extent and you are on the right track towards realizing things from the basis of insight, training your attention properly, and finding what it is you need to find. When you sit down though and you try to practice, I want to make this very clear. It's going to be difficult at first. I don't want you to get discouraged. I want you to take that realization as a sign you are making progress, the realization that your mind is not doing what you want it to do. You will find that life is a much nicer place when you have control over your mind and your mind does what you want it to. Imagine that you can sit down and just take a look at your environment, at your scenery. And what you see is all that is going on in a given moment. I'll turn my camera here to give you an example. Are you able to just look and just see things as they are without your mind going into weird chatter or overanalyzing things, causing difficulties? When you reach that peaceful blank and you are able to just observe things, see things clearly, and your mental chatter is at a minimum, that default mode network activity has decreased, you have already done most of the important aspects of removing roots that cause psychological suffering. If I told you language, your thoughts, your mental chatter was the cause of psychological suffering, and I gave you a way to silence the mental chatter, the language, the thoughts. It should be pretty clear how that removal of factors would help reduce psychological suffering. How can something cause suffering if it's not there to begin with, right? This is one of the best things about having a properly trained mind. You can shift away. There's always a degree of separation, diffusion, non-attachment to these activities that go on that can cause problems in your life. When you're able to do this and master this sense, you can go through experiences without getting stuck on them, without being psychologically inflexible. When you can do this on a consistent basis with mastery, things will be much more free for you. So again, as I said in the other videos, I think it is worthwhile. I know I really don't want to emphasize too much in terms of adhering too closely to scientific practices or spiritual practices, but there are useful chunks of information in both of them. And this is one of the areas where I really think science has hit the nail on the head. Understand the nature of these three networks: default mode network, central executive network, salience network. And there's many more we'll go into later on, but as a starting point, this is a great place to really begin to understand the workings of your own mind. And when you see directly from scientific evidence, this is how things operate, and then you see convergence from spiritual literatures in terms of how to control these aspects of your mind, it should really help reinforce the idea that there is something real here, something real that you can reinforce, train, and realize for yourself.